So kink is definitely a way to where I can shed that shame. I can prioritize play and rest and pleasure and really just tap into my sexy, kinky self. It's very liberating. How we started off this episode, it's liberation. And all of those things are just very important to me. And I feel it helps define my self identity. It's how I live my life, my lifestyle, and it's just my truth.
Yes, my truth. Welcome to Come Talk with Aimee, the podcast where sex isn't whispered about, it's talked about out loud. I'm Aimee, your host and intimacy coach, here to spark raw, playful, and unfiltered conversations about relationships, desire, and everything in between. No shame, no scripts, just real talk about what really turns us on. Let's dive in. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Come Talk with Aimee. Yes, we're so glad to have you guys here today. I am so excited for the topic. Today, we are diving into kink and giving an intro to kink. We have Bre Green here, sexologist, sex educator. Welcome, Bre.
Hi, everyone.
Yes. I am so excited, Bre, to get into this topic. But before we dive into everything kink curiosity, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, first of all, so happy to be here. I'm Bre Green, certified sexologist and educator. I essentially help people liberate their pleasure. I do all things sex ed, sex coaching, wellness services like pleasure product consulting. So if you're looking for a toy or you want to dabble into kink, beginner friendly, you don't really know where to start, I offer that. And then also just like hosting events as well, where we can talk about all things pleasure, intimacy, eroticism, like all of the good, delicious things. A little bit about me, what got me into this work was my religious background. I had to overcome a lot of sexual shame, so that's what led me to this career. But I always like to say that I don't really think of it as just a career, it's more of a calling. I love the work that I do. I get to teach sex ed to youth, I get to work with people from all walks of life, even up to elders.
Yeah.
And essentially just help people navigate their pleasure journeys. And it's so rewarding. I love what I do. And again, I'm just happy to be here. I'm excited for this conversation. Kink is one of my very, very special topics to talk about.
Yes, I love it. And we are in Kinktober. I didn't know that your journey grew out of religious situation, religious shame. The
Yes.
episode that we had last week is actually on healing from kink and from coming out of purity culture. Yes.
Right.
So I also have a huge journey with that, growing up Mormon, all of the shame, all of the religious shame, and shame just in general. Like everybody has shame around sex. So let's liberate it. I'm so excited to have you liberate our listeners, especially those who are new to kink, who are kink curious. Kink is always a continual learning, right? So even though we're focusing on intro to kink, I think this is for everyone. So, Bre, how did you first enter the world of kink and what surprised you most about it?
For me, it just started as fun. It gave me a safe way to explore my desires and play with power dynamics, referring back to my journey of healing from a lot of sexual shame from my childhood and my Pentecostal upbringing. A lot of that led to, like, in my early 20s, like an awakening. Okay, so I was embracing like exploration and curiosity. So that's what led me to kink. I'm a retired people pleaser, so I was the type, was not saying anything, had no voice in the bedroom. I was not coming. I was not having a good time. We were just playing a role. After my awakening, I was just like, let me take some time to reclaim and figure out what exactly I like, what do I not like, and then actually voice that. And so through kink, I was able to not only just explore, but it gave me a lot of confidence with my body. It gave me the language to voice my needs, to speak up about my desires, the confidence to navigate dating and explore my sexuality. It was just chef's kiss for my healing journey. And honestly, I am a huge advocate for everyone to explore kink. It's a wide spectrum. Usually when people hear it, they think it's just BDSM and Dom sub play, but there's so much. There's so much you could do. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that.
Yes, so much. We are here to educate.
What surprised me was just how wide the spectrum was. Because initially I was one of the people that thought it was just all about Dom sub play and BDSM and very intense play sessions.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's very common because that's how it is shown out in the world as far as media and all of that. But it's so much more rich, and I'm so excited to talk about that. You mentioned your awakening journey. Can you talk a little bit about what that looked like?
Picture me, early 20s, undergrad, college. Again, I grew up very religious, was not allowed to date, was not allowed to talk to boys or anything like that. I'm also queer. It was also navigating and hiding certain parts of myself that I was able to live my truth once I was out on my own in college and out in the real world as a young adult. I just took that time to really get to know myself, live in my truth, started dating. It wasn't all giggles and rainbows, just to be honest. There were definitely some hiccups here and there, definitely some very unfortunate events, but all in all, I love the journey. I love the process of being able to make mistakes, to figure out, I don't like that, or okay, that wasn't my cup of tea, but I am open to this. And then also just figuring out like the different kink spaces, finding like-minded individuals, following other practitioners. That's what led me to finding out sexology as a field of study as well in this whole process. So it became full circle. I was living it, I was learning, I was a student. It was just such a huge and pivotal experience for me and in my young adulthood life. It was just a really great, again, an awakening. I feel like it changed me for the better. I just love being able to be a part of someone else's journey, of either helping them along the way, offering some type of support, offering education or resources or whatever the case may be, to also help them on that journey, because again, it was just so important for me in my personal journey.
Yes, so fucking beautiful. We are here and we're queer. Love, love, love. And also, I feel like a lot, if not all people who work in this space, it is often born out of our own journey. And then that idea of, okay, I want to pay this forward.
You're like, this is so great. Everyone needs to experience this.
Yes, yes. And also my online friends who lives in Australia, Miss Reitz, I had her on a live and she was like, it is a gift to be able to feel comfortable talking about sex because so many of us can't. And it's like, yes, I feel liberated. I feel comfortable in my own skin and this topic. Woo! Let's bring others to there. I mean, that's like the whole idea of this podcast, is bringing sex out of the shadows and into day-to-day convo. So yeah.
Okay, and I'm so glad you do it. You are needed. These spaces are so needed.
Yes, likewise. Okay, intro to kink. You talk about kink. When we hear kink, what does that word mean to you specifically?
When I hear kink, like I automatically think safe, sexy, and just this whole wide range, this whole spectrum of exploring anything that's not considered vanilla. So anything outside of the traditional sex norm, but then also just being very open to exploration and curiosity. Like I'm always just like, be curious, be curious. It's okay. Yeah, every time I hear kink or I think of kink or explaining that to someone that's just wanting to step in just as an intro or as a beginner, I'm always just, hey, whatever you're thinking, whatever your desires, it's not wrong. It's not dirty. It's not weird. It's really important to be able to embrace what these things mean to you and then have a safe space and create these safe spaces to where you can explore that with others.
Yes. Bre, I love that the first thing that you said was safety. And I feel it's such a misconception, but a lot of people, and me included in the beginning, before I started experimenting and playing around with kink, think that, oh, kink is dangerous, on the edge, but 100%, there's so much safety in kink. Can you expand on that?
It's the root. We have to talk about the root of it. It's all about mutual respect. It's all about safety, consent. Everyone that's involved, there's so many principles as well, RAC, risk aware, consensual kink. kink, to where you're literally taught and told everyone should be aware of the risks that they're engaging in, the activity that they're engaging in. They should be able to establish consent. Everyone should know what they're consenting to, the specifics, being informed, also learning about consent being ongoing, that if a person consents to this activity or this session, they can probably change their mind later on. And if they do, you got to honor that. And so it's really important to be able to, yes, like we want to talk about all the fun, kinky, delicious things, which we are going to talk about it. But also it's important to know, like, in order to get to those fun, kinky, delicious things, we have to have that foundation of safety and trust to where you can be open to connection and you can be open to play.
Yes, absolutely. And I would say for people listening in, if you are exploring kink, whether it's at the negotiation stage, during, you did a scene and you're not feeling safe, that is a red flag. And that is an opportunity to address what's going on here. Is why didn't I feel safe? What's coming up for me? Is it internal? Can the person or the persons that I'm playing with or engaging or setting up the play hear me, right? My maybe is a no. Anyone says maybe, that's a no in kink, really, right? Or
only a yes means yes.
Yes, only a yes means yes. Before playing with someone was going through the negotiation and they were like, can I show you how this specific implement works? And I was like, sure. And they looked at me. It was beautiful. They're like, I like yeses more than sures. And I was like, oh, yeah, yes, yes. I felt really heard and held in that. And that's what we want to see for you, for our listeners who are looking and exploring. You need, yes, safety first, safety, and you need to feel safe.
Yeah, and you deserve that. I've also had clients to where we were working on establishing foundations to where they can explore kink in their relationship with their partner. By the end of it, a lot of the feedback that I got was that that was one of the first times where they felt they had autonomy. They had like the respect from their partner to where they could advocate for themselves and be heard and be seen, and their partner held space for them to be able to check in and see how they were feeling about the session and everything. That really stuck with them. I mean, there were other things that we worked on in the coaching, but overall that was a part of their journey to where they were so happy and fulfilled by the end of it, and it followed into other aspects of their relationship. It's just such a beautiful thing. Everyone is listening, y'all deserve this as well. For real.
Yes. We talked about the misconception of kink, people viewing kink as unsafe. What other misconceptions do you hear that let's debunk this right now?
I would say that kink means pain, that kink always has to be something very extreme, painful, or just very intense, impact play, which it can be.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, we're not yucking anyone's young.
Yeah.
But for those that are wanting to just dip a toe in, it doesn't always have to be that extreme. It's a huge spectrum. So there's other sides of kink, sensory play, to where you're dabbling in temperature play. You're tapping into more sensuality and sensual aspects of kink. The soft side. Some people call it the soft side of kink. And then there's other things like role playing where you're just focusing on fantasy. Like it doesn't even involve not only pain, but sometimes not even sex. It could just be like focusing on the fantasy. So yeah, I would say definitely that kink means it has to be like pain, extreme, BDSM. There's just so much more to it. But the only thing I will say is all about pleasure at the end of the day.
Yes. That pain pleasure spectrum, for some of us, my pleasure is elevated with certain aspects of pain. You mentioned impact play. I like a sting. I was thinking of this Dom, Steph Zapata. I don't know if her.
Yes.
Yeah, she's fabulous. I was at a conference once with her and she was demoing on me, and just the way that she stepped through the questions, and she was also teaching about impact play, right? And so she was talking through it with the audience, and she was like, do you like it thuddy? Do you like it stingy? And talking about, she uses a pain scale, 0 to 10 or 0 to 5, I can't remember, but like 5 being intense. And so, and also the green, red, yellow. I would definitely say for our listeners, check Steph out if you are interested in exploring impact play, because she really has a great resource and insight insight as far as understanding consent, understanding the different ways of feeling pleasure throughout that. Not everybody who likes impact play likes it the same way, right? As
Right,
with all of
right.
the kinks.
I love that. I'm the same way. I like a little bit of impact play. I like flogging. And I have my certain, my hard nose, my soft limits with where you can hit. I feel like
Yeah.
that's also important. That's part of the whole negotiation, communication part. You're talking about, okay, this is how I would like to be touched. This is how I like to be impacted. These are the places that I'm okay with. These are the places I'm not. But I am open to exploring a little bit. I don't know.
Let's get into some of the weeds of the different aspects of kink. So, how do you explain the difference between kink, BDSM, and fetish? Because they are distinctive, right? But a lot of people don't know that. So, give us the deep.
So, for kink, it's a sexual preference, okay? So, these are things that you enjoy that you can add to your pleasure. So, for example, we say with the impact play, if you're like, okay, I want to be spanked a little bit, like during this session, let's do that. That's fine. That adds to the pleasure, right? But when we talk about fetish, that's more of a sexual need. So think of obsession, fixation, however you want to call it, either on an object, a body part, an activity. But basically, whatever that is, its presence is needed in order for pleasure to happen. And in some cases, arousal. So the most common people talk about foot fetish. There got to be some toe sucking, foot massaging, things like that going on in order for people to get their rocks off. But I would say those are the biggest distinction between kink and fetish that a lot of people get confused. And then with BDSM is just bondage. So we're talking about all things restraining, tying people up, shibari, handcuffs. The D's for discipline and dominance. So that's when we're tapping into power play. Same thing with submission. And then sadism and masochism. So that's tapping into those physical sensations, pain with the pain and pleasure side of kink. Again, that could be explored in so many different ways, but that's all just about either a person that's doing that to someone or someone receiving. So it's all about that giving and receiving in that aspect as well. But it's pretty much just that whole range of just restraining, power dynamics, and exploring those physical sensations.
Fabulous. You mentioned in the beginning, BDSM is kink, but not all kink is BDSM.
Period.
Where it's, I think a lot of people, before they explore kink, they assume all kink is BDSM. As you mentioned, kink is, so fucking expensive.
But that's why it's so fun and so worth like exploring and figuring out like where you fall on that spectrum.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know we were talking about trust, right? And the importance of safety. So can we dig a little bit more into trust, communication, and how that plays into kink?
I would say trust and communication is the root of kink. Without trust and communication, you don't have kink. I would say that's not safe. Okay, because without those things, that's not kink, which again is rooted in safety, consent, mutual respect, pleasure, all these things. But without the root of trust and safety, you don't have it. You don't have communication. It's necessary for you to have those conversations of discussing your desires, discussing your expectations, doing that negotiation, talking about those boundaries and limits, figuring out safe words. This is another thing that I love talking about because when people hear that, they're like, yeah, but you don't always need a safe word. It's very useful to have because even if you're not exploring an intense form of kink or BDSM, it's still needed just to be able to communicate. Let's stop or let's slow down. Let's reassess. Let's reset for a second and then get back to it. It's important to be able to have those quick communications and even a nonverbal form. I always take it a step further to also share. There are sometimes if a person's gagged, they can't communicate verbally. So it's important to also be able to figure out those nonverbal cues to where either you're like tapping or you come up with a hand signal to be able to also communicate. Let's stop, let's slow down, let's reset, things like that too. All of these things are so important. I always just tell my clients, people that I educate, the safer a person feels, the easier it will be for them to tap into pleasure, intimacy, eroticism, whatever the goal may be, because you need that foundation in order to be able to be fully present, in order to be able to like fully let go, to have that necessary pleasure and release that comes with exploring kink.
I'm just thinking too, how can, whether it's somebody you're just meeting tonight versus like
Mm-hmm.
somebody you've known and forever and are in a committed relationship, how can you ensure that trust is there?
I
Like,
would definitely say having these discussions to where you're talking about your desires and your expectations. You're talking about consent. And usually when people bring up the aspect of consent, maybe you're not in a relationship with this person, you're casually dating or fucking, there is a way to incorporate consent and communication to where it's still in the moment. It can be sexy. Just think about dirty talk or when a person's talking you through it. They're asking you what you like. You like that? They're asking for you to tell them how much you want it. This is what we would consider communication during sex and also consent. Because again, you're asking, you're checking in with them. That's it.
yeah, if you could make that check-in sexy, a
You can
little
make it
in the ear.
sexy and you're still in the moment and you're still having a wonderful, delicious time.
Yes. Impact play, oop, a little paddle, little rub. How are we doing? How are you feeling?
You could slide it in there whenever you're switching positions. There are ways, okay? There are definitely ways.
So, talking about negotiating, can you step us through what that looks like to negotiate a scene with somebody and having that consent conversation?
Yeah, definitely being able to discuss those desires. And I think you mentioned it earlier, talking about the yes, no, maybe list. Even I've created one for a kink workshop that I've done in the past, where you have a yes, no, maybe kink checklist where everything's listed out. Because for a lot of people, they don't even know what they're into. So it's how can you say or communicate that when you don't even know? Having those resources to where you can see in front of you, these are the things that you would like to try. And then also figuring out what your partner or your sexual partners want to explore as well and bringing them into it. Make it a whole experience. I am all for social intimacy, okay? Let's
Yeah.
bring it all in, okay? Let's all get deeper and connected in this process. It's an experience from start to finish. So, doing that, and then once you figure out what you want to explore, that's when you can discuss those limits. So, that's when you're negotiating, you're talking about, okay, this is what I want to do, this is what I don't want to do, this is how I want to do it, this is where I want to do it. This is what I want to use. That's when you have the moments to where you're going down and you're getting to the specifics. And it is important to get to the specifics. But even if you don't think of it in the moment, also having the space again to where these things can come up later on or even during. Also being open to that channel of communication is always going to be there. Talking about consent, consenting, knowing exactly what you're consenting to, making sure it's informed, making sure it's specific. And then also those nonverbal cues as well for the nonverbal signals to communicate that too. I would say that should be the starting point of after you've done your research, you figured out exactly what it is, the scene that you want to do. You have your partners, you're both on the same page, or everyone's on the same page. Then we can get to the nitty gritty of how we're going to do this thing.
Social intimacy. I've never heard of that before.
It's all about getting closer through shared experiences, creating memories, doing shared activity with people. That's also a form of intimacy.
In couples, play partners, having the non-sexual intimacy allows for us to go deeper sexually, right?
Mm-hmm.
Allows for us to
Mm-hmm.
connect, dive deeper in the sexual aspect. And just because you mentioned like the negotiation can even happen throughout the scene, I would say if you want to add something that was not negotiated before, consent still needs to be there, especially if you have dom sub dynamics. You could be in your subspace, etc. So you need to make sure, and that's something that often also I think is a misconception, is that doms are there even to discipline and degrade, and that can be part of it, right, if that's what the sub is wanting, but the sub is actually driving what's going on. And so you mentioned that autonomy, and the dom really is saying, or not the dom, the sub is really driving as far as what's okay, what's not okay, like how
Mm-hmm.
it will be played out.
You got to steer. We're both on this journey together, but you got to steer that boat.
So for people who are beginning and listening in and being curious, yes, I want to go here. What do you think is a major mind shift that beginners should make before trying anything out?
I would definitely say just being open to curiosity, overcoming any shame or negative messages that you have adopted or associated with sex, sexuality, kink, having that mindset shift to where you can be like, okay, this is not shameful. This is not
Yeah.
dirty. This is not wrong. These are the things that I'm into. And then this is what I want to explore. And this is how I can do it. And then find the other people that also would want to join that experience with you. Because if someone's yucking your yum, then that's probably not a person we should be engaging, you
Absolutely.
know?
Absolutely. Yeah, it needs to be a match in all of the different aspects. This is to answer this question. And the other question for people starting out, and this can be like also just anyone working with a new play partner, adding in a new aspect of kink, negotiating a different scene. When you're negotiating, don't do it via text. Phone is not ideal. In-person negotiations should always happen before it's played out. It just can go sour. And also, like, you can't hear the person's tone. Like,
Right.
so how can people start dipping their toe if they want to get, what's a good way for them to start out?
My favorite thing to always advise to those that come to me that are like, hey, I want to dabble into kink, but I'm not really into rough sex or BDSM or anything like that. What else could I possibly do? I'm always sensory play, okay? Sensory play. Just try it. This is all about enhancing or restricting the senses in order to heighten any sensation. For example, wearing a blindfold, you could be playing around with different like textures and objects like feathers. You can also incorporate temperature play, which is adding the either cold or heat elements. My favorite thing is wax play. So that's lighting a candle, a massage candle specifically. There are certain candles that are made specifically for this, to where you can light it, pour it on the body, play around with the wax, or if it's an oil-based massage candle, you can rub in that, turn it into a massage. It's all very sensual. You can choose your scents and things like that. Just make it an experience. And since a person's blindfolded or they're adding all these different sensations, it just turns up the experience even more. So I'm always, yes, for beginners, start there. But I would also to note for those that are listening, when we're talking about exploring kink and using certain resources and tools, you want to use the tools that are specifically designed for these kink activities. Because, for example, if you're wanting to get into bondage and you're seeing the shibari videos and you want to be tied up, don't go to Home Depot and buy the rope because you're going to hurt yourself or hurt someone else. You want to make sure that you're using the right materials and the right tools that are designed specifically for this kink activity. Same thing with candles, wax play. Don't use your Bath and Body Works candles and pour that on someone because that can lead to very intense burns, okay? You want to use the specific candles that are made for this activity. It's the reason why we have pleasure products, we have pleasure product stores. There's so many. If you don't even know where to start, definitely reach out to me. I offer the service for pleasure product consulting. I also know so many different virtual pleasure product stores to send out for different products and like QR codes, things like that. I also like to incorporate erogenous zones. In my workshop, I've always incorporated an activity where we're pleasure mapping, where people can decide and write and draw out the parts of their bodies that they want to explore. I go into great detail. It's showing all the different erogenous zones, the pleasure zones of the body, and really just tapping into those surprise areas. A lot of people are behind the knee.
Yeah.
The inner wrist.
And you can explore kink on your own.
Yeah.
A lot of these, like with sensory play and sensation play, you can explore that on your own
Definitely.
before like, bringing in a partner too. For people who would want to explore the power dynamics, what are some low intensity ways to ease oneself into that to see if it's a dynamic they want to bring into their play?
I would definitely say if you're wanting to tap into giving your control away to someone or being in control of someone, orgasm control and edging. That is a really great way before you can dive into doing the kneeling and all of those good things. Start with orgasm control and edging. This is when, whether it's through sex or, for example, maybe you're giving head.
Hmm.
And right when that person is about to come, pull back. And then explore another part. Maybe kiss the inner thigh, kiss the lower stomach, like really get into that teasing, and then go right back to it. And then pull right back out. And then go right back into
Yes.
it. Just a few times, and then to the point to where they're literally about to explode, and there will be a nice explosion in the end.
Yes.
That's the perfect thing. I'm like, orgasm control and edge play, that's really great to start off. I don't know all the different types when we're talking about doms and subs and like things like that.
Hmm.
This is a great starting point, and then you could use this as a segue to bring in other aspects of those power dynamic play.
And edging and orgasming on command is also something you can experiment with solo. Just saying.
Another thing that came to mind, role playing and fantasy. Honestly, I feel
Mhm.
like it's so slept on when it comes to kink. Again, wide spectrum. We love it. We're
Yeah.
here. And then for those that don't know it yet, but I'm open to hearing, loving the conversation though, don't sleep on role play and fantasy, acting out whatever fantasies you have. For the longest time, I had this fantasy of having a happy ending
Okay.
after a massage. And I had shared that with my husband, and literally he was like, all right, let's do it. Let's plan it out. We discussed it and then went through the whole scene. And girl, when I tell you it was a whole experience, I had the robe, he had the setup, I laid down,
Yes.
he walked out, he came back in, he was in character the whole time.
Yes.
I was just like, I was living for it. So do not sleep on the role play. Be open to exploring whatever you're into. And then as long as it's safe.
For people who are dipping their toes in, how important is education before experimentation? And what are some of your favorite resources to steer newcomers to?
I would definitely say it's very important because I cannot tell you how many times I've heard people who just jumped right into kink without the
Mm,
research, without knowing all of the amazing gems that we dropped during this episode. They had a horrible experience and now they don't want to ever try anything ever again. This is a really great platform to where you're listening not just to a sexologist, but other guests, amazing guests that Aimee has had on, to
mm,
where you're learning from them. They're also sharing resources. I would say really look into finding local communities. You can search for munches. These are just meetups for those in the community to where you could just not only learn, but build community and speak with other like minded individuals that are also in that same boat as you, that are wanting to explore kink in these different ways. And then I would also say look into those Facebook groups, look into those pages, go on Eventbrite, look for events that are happening, but also just being in the space with like-minded individuals and seeing a session played out, or to where maybe you're volunteering, maybe you're a person that's being flogged or being
uh,
tied up. These could be a very amazing life-changing experiences for you if you're just curious and wanting to tap in, wanting to learn.
And I would also say if you are a person who exhibitionism is one of your kinks, mine, I think it's 90. Like on the kink quiz, when I took it, I was, oh yeah, this is so me. But I think my exhibitionism is 95% or 90. It was the top rating. If that is you, another great way to go and explore, which could be you can play or you cannot play, art play parties. And especially if you are into group play parties don't have to be group play, but it's a great way to also be in the room and seeing what does that look like. You could go to one that has more kink focused. And I think play parties in themselves, because it does have the exhibitionism and voyeurism. Oh, sorry. I said exhibitionism, but voyeurism is my
Okay,
top.
I've
Like,
also taken this quiz before. Mine
okay.
was, I had a lot of tops though.
Yeah.
I'm a rope bunny,
Oh,
I'm a
yeah.
brat, I'm a switch, I'm everything, which I mean, all of the above.
I think maybe in the show notes I'll put this quiz so that it's a great way to introduce yourself to some of the things that you're interested in and the questions that it asks. So, Bre, how do you personally stay connected to your why behind kink?
It's just healing for me. I believe we're sexual beings from the day we're born to the day we die. On my journey, it's very healing. And as a Black queer woman, I already had to navigate the world, the complexities of our society that can be very exhausting and shameful and many times cruel. So kink is definitely a way to where I can shed that shame. I can prioritize play and rest and pleasure and really just tap into my sexy, kinky self. It's very liberating. How we started off this episode, it's liberation. And all of those things are just very important to me. And I feel it helps define my self identity. It's how I live my life, my lifestyle, and it's just my truth.
Yes, my truth. Fuck. Yes, Bre. You are giving it to us. I love it. I
Yes.
love it. All of the times. So, can we take a moment for aftercare? What does that look, especially from a kink perspective?
Aftercare is very important. This is how we're making sure that everyone's good. Okay. After you've had this amazing session, right? This is how you're checking in your physical and emotional care. It's also important to know drops. Most people you hear about sub dom drops. Basically, this is just a physiological response that your body has because as you're going through, you're having all of these feel good hormones, the endorphins that are flooding your body. And then after that ends, there's a significant drop. Your levels are now normalizing. And so your body just automatically responds to that in different ways. And that can be emotional. That can look like someone may experience a feeling of sadness, of guilt, anxiety. It can manifest in different ways. But just as examples, it can look that. And then physically, if you're having some intense play, impact play, or some bondage, things that requires physical care. You may have to soothe certain areas of the body. But then the other aspect I would say is also really important to be able to tap into connections. Afterwards, you want to make sure that you're checking in. Don't just get up and move on to the next thing. Take your time. Don't rush. Okay. Stay in that moment. The biggest important thing is you're taking care of everything. You're taking care of your emotional, your physical, and your mental aspects of your body and your mind and your spirit in these moments, and just checking in with your partners that everything's good, everyone's feeling good, everyone's okay. And then if you do feel those feelings from the drop, again, that's a normal response, it's a physiological response of the body sometimes. Also knowing that that's not always a sign that something's wrong. Now, that can get a little tricky because sometimes that can also be just feelings that something's wrong. You should also feel validated in what you're feeling as well. Definitely. I'm not saying not. But
Right.
just being open to exploring exactly why you feel these things and just informing yourself of why this could be happening and expressing that to the people that you're playing with.
Yeah. Yeah, you may cry. You may have a crygasm. And
Yeah.
it actually may be because you feel safe enough to have that release. Aftercare is a non-negotiable. Like aftercare, even in the vanilla settings, got to do aftercare.
Oh
Keep
yeah,
up
I'm a
the
huge
momentum.
advocate. If we're comfortable enough to explore and get sexy with someone, then we should be comfortable
Mhm.
enough to also have that aftercare after.
Absolutely. Yes. Oh my gosh. This has been so
Amazing.
hot, so valuable. So before we leave, I always to come to completion, which is the little after rapid fire round. Before we do that, is there anything else you want to impart on our listeners about Intro to Kink and Kink Curiosity?
Be open to exploration, be curious, do your research, educate yourselves. And then if you want more information, definitely follow Aimee, follow me, follow the people we were talking about
Yeah.
during this amazing episode.
Okay, let's dig into a little bit of rapid fire. Bre, ice or candle wax?
Candle wax, for
Yeah.
sure.
Blindfold, a yes or a no.
Yes.
Sensory deprivation. Oh, we're going to get into a little blindfold action for our subscription round. So if you haven't subscribed, go and subscribe. All right. Favorite erogenous zones to explore first?
I would say ears or neck.
Yes. Ooh. Mine is neck and nipples. Um,
Ooh.
if you can give me a nipplegasm, yes, thank you. Okay. Public versus private play, which thrills you more?
Both? I'm like, is it possible to be a both, please?
Yes.
Okay, if I had to choose, I guess I'll go private. It used to be public for me, but now that I'm a little older, I have more to lose. I'll probably do private. You
All
know,
right.
hitting a backseat in the parking garage after brunch, that was fun. But now I can't really do that. I can't do that I did when
Right.
21.
Yeah. One word rule for beginner kink.
Safety.
Yes. Yes. If you have walked away with nothing else, safety. Spanking, soft or intense?
Intense.
I'm with you on that one.
Give me the paddles, give me the crop, give me the flogger intensely.
Okay, sensation play, temperature or texture?
Temperature.
This is a hard one for me, but I'm gonna go with texture.
Ooh.
Yeah, do a little, yeah, a lot of textures. All right, first time kink tip, one sentence only. We did this already, but in a
Like
word.
consent, safety, trust. I don't know.
I'm
But
duplicating.
fun. Have fun and throughout the whole process. It should still be fun and shouldn't just be all business.
Okay, power exchange, yes, no, or maybe.
Yes, definitely.
Yes.
And I'm a
Oh,
switch.
me too. Tell everyone what a switch is.
This is a person that enjoys being the dominant or the sub. I can take turns depending on whatever scene I want to have, whatever session I want to have. If I want to be the dom or if I want to be the sub, I really enjoy both.
Yes. I'm a fellow switch. Mm-mm-mm. Love, love, love. It depends on the person that I'm playing with. And also I can switch depending on, again, like if a person is also, if I'm with a fellow switch, we can play with that too. All right. Last question. Favorite aftercare ritual?
Yeah, I would say definitely the cuddles and jokes. The cuddles, jokes,
Mm.
light banter.
Yes. Yeah. For me, it's, yeah, the cuddle. I just want to be held. We can fall asleep in each other's arms. Yeah. A little chat.
We can cuddle. Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, Bre, this has been amazing. You have been given our listeners so many keys to the kingdom and kingdom. Bre, where before we say goodbye, where can followers find you?
You can find me on Instagram at bre.ashe. That's BRE.ASE. And then I'm also on TikTok at Bre_Ashe. Same thing, BRE_ASE. You can also follow my website. I'll give all the information. I have a lot of workshops that are virtual or in person.
Amazing. Yes, Bre, thank you so much. Thank you for our listeners for coming.
Thank you for having me. This was so fun.
All right. Thank you for coming. As always, remember to masturbate, lubricate, and get it. And thank you for coming. Please come again and come again. That's all for today, lover. Remember to masturbate, lubricate, and get it. If you liked this episode, share with a friend, like, subscribe, and as always, thank you for coming. Please come again, and come again.